Sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. At sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa akin at
The mic caught it. What exactly did Alexandrova whisper to a tearful Alex Eala that left the tennis world stunned? The match was already over, the scoreboard frozen, and the Abu Dhabi crowd, once roaring like a jet engine for nearly 2 hours, had faded into a low, restless hum. The handshake at the net was brief and routine, the usual signal that the battle had ended. But the real moment everyone is talking about didn't happen under the bright lights or during the coin toss. It unfolded quietly in the shadows of the court, just as the cameras began to pan away. As 20-year-old Filipino sensation Alex Eala packed her bag with her head bowed, absorbing the sting of a quarterfinal defeat, Ekaterina Alexandrova, the very player who had just dismantled her, leaned in close. There was no gloating, no dramatic celebration. Instead, she delivered a simple, unexpected message. You are a future star. It wasn't loud or meant for headlines, which is precisely why it resonated so deeply. In a sport often known for its icy locker rooms and swift exits, those words felt like a steady, reassuring hand on the shoulder at exactly the right moment, a quiet passing of the torch gesture no one saw coming, but everyone needed to hear. Welcome back to Courtiva Tennis, your #1 source for the stories that matter, both on and off the court. Today, we're not just looking at a scoreline, we're diving deep into the match that shook the 2026 Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, the emotional aftermath that left the internet in tears, and the single sentence from a Russian veteran that could fuel Alex Eala to conquer the world. To grasp the weight of those words, you need to understand the battle that came before them. The heat was stifling, the tension palpable. On one side of the net stood Ekaterina Alexandrova, 31, a titan of the tour who reached a career-high ranking of world number 10 just months earlier. Nicknamed the Ice Queen, her game relies on flat, thunderous ground strokes that skid off the court like stones on water, powerful, precise, and merciless. She is the kind of veteran who eats teenagers for breakfast. On the other side was Alexandra Eala, the pride of the Philippines and a Rafa Nadal Academy alumna, who has carried the hopes of an entire archipelago since her junior years. In her home country, she is more than a tennis player. She is a national treasure, with millions watching every match and analyzing every point, believing she is destined for greatness. Yet in this showdown, the odds were stacked against her. Eala was the underdog, a scrappy fighter facing one of the heaviest hitters in women's tennis, but it was precisely this battle that set the stage for a moment of grit, grace, and the promise of the sport's future. The narrative was set: veteran versus prodigy, experience versus hunger, power versus heart. When the umpire called play, the match exploded into a blistering pace where missing a single ball felt like a crime. Ekaterina Alexandrova came out swinging, her racket more sledgehammer than sporting equipment. The first game alone was a grueling war of attrition, stretching to 4 deuces, and soon Eala found herself staring at a daunting 0-3 deficit. It seemed destined to be a blowout. The Ice Queen was extinguishing the Filipino fire before it could even spark. But this is where Alex Eala showed why she belongs on the biggest stages. She didn't fold or panic. Fueled by a roaring crowd waving Filipino flags in every corner, she began to dig in. Finding her range, she unleashed her lefty spin to disrupt Alexandrova's rhythm, clawed back points, and narrowed the score to 1-2. The rallies grew longer, the tension thicker, and slowly, the underdog started to prove that heart could match power. The intensity was palpable, lungs burning, shoes screeching against the hard court as both women traded ferocious baseline blows. At one point, Eala earned 2 break points at 15-40, and the stadium erupted. This was it, the potential turning point, the moment that could shift momentum. But Alexandrova, seasoned and unflappable after over a decade on tour, erased the breakpoints with clutch serving and closed out the set 6-3. The second set mirrored the cruel realities of professional tennis. Eala clawed back from another early deficit to level at 3-3, breathing down the neck of the world number 11, only for Alexandrova to dial up the precision, hitting lines with surgical accuracy and pulling away again to take the set 6-3. On paper, it was a straight sets victory for the favorite, a routine win, but the emotional toll on Eala was undeniable. She had given everything, pushed a top-tier opponent to the limit, yet walked away empty-handed. As the players approached the net, the handshake was respectful, a nod from the usually stoic Alexandrova. But what came next melted the hearts of fans worldwide. Eala returned to her bench, performing the lonely ritual of packing up stowing rackets, Grabbing her towel, trying to mask the disappointment etched across her young face. Tea was arguably the loneliest moment in sports. The crowd cheering for the winner, cameras trained on the victor, and you standing alone with your thoughts. That's when Ekaterina Alexandrova broke character. She didn't have to. She could have waved to the crowd and headed straight to her interview. Instead, she walked over to the young Filipina and whispered 5 simple words that carried immense weight. "You are a future star." Fans immediately noticed Eala's reaction, a brief pause, a flicker of surprise, and then a softening of her expression. Encouragement from someone who just defeated you carries a unique power. It validates potential, not results, acknowledges struggle, and says, "I see you. I felt your power. You belong here." In the post-match interview, Alexandrova doubled down on her praise, highlighting Eala's talent and composure. She spoke about how difficult the match was, how she knew Eala would play well, and even acknowledged the crowd rooting for the young Filipino. It was a masterclass in grace, a veteran signaling that while she had won the battle, the war for the future belongs to players like Eala. Unsurprisingly, the internet went nuclear. Within hours, clips of the interaction were circulating across Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook, with Filipino fans, one of the most passionate bases in tennis, celebrating the moment endlessly. Passionate digital armies flooded the comment sections with hearts and praise, not just for Eala but also for Alexandrova, recognizing the veteran's pure class. One top comment read, "She knows a real talent when she sees one." Another fan added, "Alexandrova usually destroys opponents and walks away. For her to stop and say this, Ella is the real deal." That simple moment reshaped how the loss was remembered. Instead of headlines reading "Eala crashes out of Abu Dhabi," the narrative became "Alexandrova anoints Eala as future queen, a defeat transformed into a lesson, heartbreak into hope." And why does this matter so much? Why devote an entire video to a 5-word sentence? Because women's tennis is brutal, a solitary grind of travel, hotels, and pressure. For a young player like Eala, who has been in the spotlight since childhood, the stakes are immense. She isn't just playing for herself, she is representing a country starving for a tennis icon. Every loss feels like a national tragedy, every win, a holiday. To have a top 15 player, someone who has faced the likes of Iga Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka, look you in the eye and declare, "You are a future star," is validation beyond words. It quiets doubts, silences critics questioning her size or serve, and proves that the path she's on is the right one. Recognition like this from an established champion carries a weight no amount of social media hype or national pride could ever manufacture. Eala had earned the respect of someone who had fought the same battles, someone who knows what it takes to survive on tour and recognized something special in the young Filipina's game. But the fairy tale has its reality checks. Following the emotional high in Abu Dhabi, Eala traveled to Doha for the Qatar Open, a massive WTA 1000 event, where expectations were sky-high and fans were buzzing. The tour, however, is unforgiving. In the first round, she faced Teresa Valentova, another rising teenage star, and the magic of Abu Dhabi didn't carry over. Eala lost in the opening round. It was a tough blow, a dip in rankings, less prize money, and a stark reminder that potential alone isn't enough. Consistency matters. Yet, Alexandrova's words became a shield. Being a future star doesn't mean winning every match today. It means having the tools to win the big ones tomorrow. The WTA landscape is shifting. The old guard, the Halep and Kvitovas, are fading, while Swiatek and Sabalenka continue their dominance, leaving a vacuum for the next generation. Will it be Russia's Mira Andreeva with her aggressive baseline game, Coco Gauff with a Grand Slam already under her belt, or could it be Alex Eala, the girl from Manila who refuses to give up? She has the pedigree, training at the Rafa Nadal Academy alongside other elite professionals, and the work ethic is evident in every sprint and swing on court. Even when down 0-3 against Alexandrova, her shots threaten destruction. A forehand down the line like a cannon, a lefty serve that can bewilder opponents. What she needs now is time and belief. The 2026 season is absolutely critical for Eala's development, and breaking into the top 50 is already a historic feat for a young player from the Philippines. Eala's rise is historic. No woman from the Philippines has ever reached what she has in professional tennis. But staying at the top is an entirely different challenge. The leap from a top 50 player to a top 20 player isn't just about talent. It's about consistent performance week in and week out, managing the pressure when you're no longer the underdog but the target everyone is gunning for, and preserving both physical and mental health through an 11-month, globe-spanning season. Her team will need to be strategic about scheduling. One of the biggest mistakes young players make is saying yes to too many tournaments, chasing rankings, and burning out in the process. The WTA Tour is a marathon, not a sprint. Playing 35 events a year risks injury, exhaustion, and early round losses at tournaments she should be winning. The smarter approach is selecting tournaments where deep runs are realistic while building in recovery periods to train without competing. Equally important is continuing to strengthen the mental side of her game. Tennis is as much a psychological battle as a physical one. The best players aren't always the ones with the biggest serves or fastest forehands. They're the ones who can manage emotions, stay calm on breakpoint in the third set, and execute their game plan even when nothing seems to be working. Sports psychologists are as crucial as coaches at this level, helping players breathe through pressure, reset after mistakes, and maintain belief even in adversity. These are the skills that separate the good from the great, but there's also the question of Eala's physical development. At 20, she is still maturing, and many players add significant power between ages 20 and 23 as their bodies fully develop. Even a 5 to 10% increase in pace on her ground strokes, without sacrificing control, could elevate her from a solid top 50 player to a legitimate Grand Slam threat. Her serve remains the key area for improvement. In modern women's tennis, a vulnerable serve can be punished instantly, with top players targeting second serves relentlessly. Alexandrova's career offers valuable lessons in persistence. She wasn't a teenage prodigy, didn't dominate junior Grand Slams, or score massive sponsorships at 16. She climbed the ranks gradually, grinding through challengers and qualifiers, piece by piece, and didn't reach the top 10 until age 28. Most players would have quit, convinced they'd hit their ceiling, but she kept believing, improving, and ultimately broke through. This teaches young players that their timeline doesn't have to match anyone else's. The Filipino tennis community is watching with breathless anticipation. The Philippines has produced world-class athletes in boxing, basketball, and other sports, but tennis has long been a sport dominated by the elite, requiring resources and training facilities that were scarce in the country. Alex Eala is breaking that barrier, proving that a Filipino can compete at the highest levels. Every time she steps on court, she carries not just her own aspirations, but the dreams of a nation. Alex Eala carries not only her own ambitions but also the dreams of young Filipino kids picking up a racket for the first time. It is both an incredible honor and an enormous burden. The pressure she faces is something players from traditional tennis powerhouses like the United States, Russia, or European countries may never fully grasp. When a country produces 5 or 10 players in the top 100, a loss is just a loss. When you are the only one, carrying an entire nation's tennis hopes, every defeat feels magnified, and every victory is celebrated like a national holiday. Eala must learn to balance playing for herself while honoring the support of her country, a delicate skill she will need to master. Social media adds yet another layer of complexity. While her active engagement with fans is inspiring, it also exposes her to criticism. Filipino fans are incredibly loyal, but after a tough loss, trolls and hot takes inevitably appear. People who have never held a tennis racket will analyze, judge, and criticize every move. Learning to tune out the noise while absorbing the love and support is a skill as essential as any on-court technique. Learning to absorb the hate is a crucial skill for any modern athlete. Mental health on tour is a real issue, and players like Naomi Osaka have helped start an important conversation. For Eala, the coaching situation is equally vital. She needs someone who understands not only tennis technique but also the unique pressures she faces. A coach who can be part technical guru, part sports psychologist, and part travel companion. In tennis, the coach-player relationship is intensely intimate. You spend more time with your coach than with family, sharing your best and worst moments, your fears and dreams. Finding the right fit can feel like finding the right life partner. When it works, it's magic. When it doesn't, it can derail a career. Looking ahead to the rest of 2026, Eala faces crucial decisions about scheduling. While Grand Slams are the ultimate goal, at her current ranking, the focus should be on smaller tournaments where she can win matches, build confidence, and prove she belongs at the top level. Capturing a WTA 250 or 500 title would be a massive boost for development, ranking points, and belief. The clay court season could be particularly promising. Thanks to countless hours training at the Rafa Nadal Academy, Eala's lefty spin, patience, and defensive skills could translate perfectly to the slower, higher-bouncing red dirt of Europe, a surface that rewards consistency and strategic point construction. Don't be surprised if her breakthrough tournament comes on clay, where her style could truly shine.
Oh, okay. Excited naman, syempre. Ang haba ng biyahe. Walang Spain, but I'm so excited to be here. Excited din ako makasama yung team.
I think it's only normal that with the loss comes disappointment and being upset, but then again, it's another opportunity.
Alex, after a terrific year last year, how does it feel to be making your main draw debut at Melbourne?
It feels great. I'm super excited. Kamusta mga kapong Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala Abu